Today I'm tying the beautiful Lady Benson. That's me, Lance. I'm the creator of this channel and your normal, average, everyday guy who loves to tie flies. And today I'm tying the Lady Benson, a beautiful dry fly that screams, "Tie me." If you are new to my channel and love to tie flies, click subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified of when I upload content. That's me, and this is my vise. In its jaws I place a size 14 TMC 100 dry fly hook. Start the fluorescent shell pink UTC 70 about an eye length behind the eye. Cut the tag of thread after it has been secured to the hook. Continue wrapping the thread around the hook until it reaches about halfway down the shank. Then bring the thread back up the shank until it reaches about the 30% point of the hook. Prepare a natural barred mallard flank feather for wings by taking the feather into your fingers and sweeping all the webby fibers towards the back of the feather and pulling these fibers off the stem. These webby fibers can be discarded. Sweep a few dozen more feather fibers to the back of the fly until the tips are fairly even. Once the tips are even, pull them from the stem and set them aside. Repeat this process, stacking the fiber bundles on top of each other so that the tips are even among the stack of fibers. Pick up the stack of mallard fibers, adjust them, then verify the tips are even. Take this bundle and measure them against the hook to about a shank long. Using a pinch wrap, lock the mallard down to the shank, and then with tight wraps of thread, wrap down to halfway down the shank. With a pair of scissors, cut the butt ends of the mallard fibers. Continue wrapping tight wraps of thread around the shank, covering the cut feather fibers. After all the cut fibers have been covered with thread, lift the mallard tips at the front of the hook with the thumb and index finger of your material hand. Then bring the thread to just in front of the point where the mallard was tied in, and build a small thread dam with wraps of thread so that the mallard stands pretty close to straight up. Use a bodkin or needle along the top of the fly to divide the mallard fibers in half. Now, in holding the near side bundle in your fingers, wrap 2 wraps of thread from the front near side of the wings to the back far side of the wings. Then wrap them the other direction, from the back near side to the front far side of the wings. Wrap the thread around the bottom of the wing post. As the thread is coming back towards you, grasp the far wing post in your non-bobbin hand and tighten the wraps of thread that you just wrapped around the post. Be sure to only apply pressure to the thread when you are grasping the mallard fibers. If you apply pressure without grasping the mallard fibers, all the wraps used to create the post will come unwound. After the post has been created, wrap the thread around the hook shank a couple times before starting the near side wing post. Repeat this process for the near side wing. After both wings have been completed, wrap the thread around the shank down to the bend of the hook. Golden Pheasant Tippet will be used as the tail for the Lady Benson. Take the tippet into your hand and, keeping the tips lined up, pull about 7 fibers from the stem. Measure the tippet to 1 shank long. Take the tippet fibers between your index finger and thumb so that the 1 shank mark you just measured is barely sticking out of your fingers. Angle the tippet against the near side of the hook with the point you just measured touching the point where the thread is hanging from the shank. Tightly wrap thread around the hook and the tippet so that the tippet rolls to the top of the shank. Continue securing the tippet to the shank with thread until the thread reaches a bit behind the mallard fibers. Use your scissors to trim the butts of the tippet from the fly. Cut a few inches of black 8/0 UNI-Thread for the rib of the Lady Benson. Position the rib so that it is angled against the hook shank and tie in the ribbing just behind the mallard butts with a couple light wraps of thread. Then gently pull the rib from the back of the fly until the tip of the rib is almost under the thread wraps used to secure it to the hook. Now continue to secure the rib to the shank of the hook down to the bend of the hook. With the bobbin hanging at the bend of the hook, spin it counterclockwise until you notice the thread flattening against the shank. Wrap this flat thread up the shank to behind the wings, stopping to counterspin the bobbin when the thread cords up. With the thread sitting behind the wings, wrap the thread back to the 80% point of the hook and then back to behind the wings. Repeat this at the 60% point and keep doing it till a mild taper of thread sits on the fly. When the taper is completed, the thread should be hanging behind the wings of the fly. To rib the fly, take the thread rib into your fingers and begin wrapping it around the abdomen with 6 or 7 evenly spaced wraps of ribbing. Once the ribbing reaches behind the wing, tie off the ribbing with a few tight wraps of thread. And cut the tag end of ribbing from the fly. Now, we'll whip finish the thread and cut it off the fly. Secure a bobbin of black UTC 70 thread a bit behind the eye of the hook and cut the tag end. Wrap the thread to behind the wings of the fly and back to the front of the fly. Prepare a brown and grizzly saddle hackle by pulling the hackle fibers off the last 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch of the feather. Line the tips of the hackle up to the front of the fly and use thread to secure it to the shank. Continue securing the hackle to the shank to where the thorax of the fly ends, and wrap the thread back to the front of the fly. Wrap one of the hackles tightly 3 times around the hook shank before the wings, and 3 more times in front of the wings. Then tie off the hackle and trim the excess free of the fly. Repeat this process with the other hackle. Once both hackles have been wrapped and secured, trim any hackle fibers that look out of place. After the fly has been trimmed, whip finish the fly and cut the thread. Using a bodkin, apply a bit of head cement to the head. This is the Lady Benson. The Lady Benson is a beautiful pattern. What really attracted me to it was the pheasant tippet tail combined with the ribbed pink body. It screamed, "Tie me," so I did. What flies have screamed "tie me" to you? Share with us below. And then go find some pheasant tippet and pink thread and go tie this beauty. If you enjoyed this demonstration of the Lady Benson, give it a like and check out my dry flies playlist at the top right. Or watch my traditional Adams demonstration below that. Thanks for watching. Fish hard and tie hard.